What is going on, guys? Welcome on into Second and Short. This is the number one podcast on, I can't say that, we're not number one podcast anywhere.
In
but
my heart.
I really, in Aaron's heart. We're the number one podcast in Aaron's heart. One day, we will say that we are like the 97th best podcast on Apple Podcasts, sports, radio, amateur podcast, or something like that.
Coming for that number 96 spot.
But until then, we're just going to stick to what we do. And what we do here is we're talking, free agents. We're talking trades. We're talking the new additions to these teams. And it's Monday, or you're probably watching this not on Monday, but if you're watching this on Monday when it premieres, we're on the AFC. And for those of you wondering about our schedule, we're going to talk about it here. Every Monday, we'll be producing a brand new AFC player breakdown. And every Thursday, we will be breaking down an NFC player breakdown.
Funny how that works.
And we're going to keep doing it until we run out of interesting players on either side, which is, fun fact, it's the AFC. We run out of AFC players.
Or until we just get bored of it and decide to do something else.
Yeah, maybe we'll just play backgammon. I know I really know you like backgammon.
I'm really good at backgammon. If anyone wants to play me in backgammon, just let me know. I'll kick your ass.
Alrighty, well, here we are. Melvin Gordon. I didn't do it. I didn't lead us in like cheesy,
yeah, you weren't trying
to
with all your fake ooh, who's it gonna be?
But we're talking about Melvin Gordon. And Denver Broncos fans, I want to say thank you, first of all. You guys have been tremendous in showing support in all of our AFC West previews or draft reviews. Like, no offense to anybody else in division, but I solely believe it's you Denver Broncos fans that have been coming out. And now we're going to talk about the player that we think is going to have the biggest impact on your team come 2020. Now, before we dive into Melvin Gordon, we're not going to discredit the trade edition. The Denver Broncos stole away Jarrell Casey, the defensive tackle from the Tennessee Titans. And he is going to do a great job at being that hog molly and just like plugging up the hole as a nose tackle for Denver in their 3-4.
Yeah, and we know everyone, as much as every guy likes to plug up the holes, Joe Casey, as a Titans fan, he's been just a stalwart on that defensive line for years. All the Titans fans love him. We were devastated when we traded him away. So, I mean, Broncos fans, you got a great player for a cheap price. I mean, his contract is a bit higher, but still, great player, 7th round pick. I would be really happy with that move, but today we decided to talk about Melvin Gordon.
And the reason why we're talking about Melvin Gordon is we're gonna break it down here for you, but essentially we think he's gonna have the biggest impact on this team in 2020 and in the future. Because Jarrell Casey comes in, he's the starter, he doesn't bump anybody away, but Melvin Gordon comes in and just causes chaos into this whole backfield. But before we break into that, let's do what we like to do and let's break down the player. So, here's the breakdown. Melvin Gordon, first round pick out of the University of Wisconsin in 2015.
Go Badgers.
Immediately became the starter. However, he missed the last 2 games and got put on injury reserve, which is just more so to like save a roster spot more than anything. But the biggest surprise is that this guy was a monster at scoring touchdowns for the University of Wisconsin, as every running back that goes through there was. I mean, Monty Ball before him and Jonathan Taylor after him, but he didn't score a single touchdown his rookie year, which just like blew the minds of anybody.
Yeah, it was a pretty surprising thing to see. I remember them talking about like towards the end of the year, is he going to get a touchdown this week or is he not? But it kind of balanced out because he had surgery after that year, and then in 2016 he started being this like touchdown monster. He scored 10 touchdowns. He had 1,400 scrimmage yards. Then missed the final 3 games of that season, which just kind of became a pattern for him. Then in 2017, he had his breakout year. He started all 16 games, had over 1,000 rushing yards, 1,500 total scrimmage yards, and he had 12 total tutties.
Now, things took a turn again. 2018, he missed 4 games. However, it was kind of like a teeter-totter. You got your highs and your lows. Missing those 4 games, which was the trend that we saw. He got back on that train, but he had his highest yards per carry of his career. And we'll talk about that a little bit later as well, and I'll bring up that fact and everything. And then 2019, as we all know, he held out because he wanted that big extension. He wanted to make as much as, Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley, David Johnson, all these guys signed massive contracts. They were all getting paid above, 10, 12 million. And that's what he wanted. I mean, David Johnson ended up signing for like 13 million a year, and Le'Veon Bell was like 13.1 million. And I forget what Todd Gurley was at, because Todd Gurley didn't even play for his contract extension before he got cut by the Rams. But he missed all of the offseason workouts, and he missed preseason and all the training camps. And then he missed the first 4 games. And then finally, week 5 comes around, and he comes back. And obviously, what happens? He underperforms.
Yeah, he underperformed pretty much all last season. Played a bit better towards the end of the season, but not enough to warrant that big payday that he wanted from the Chargers.
Now, Aaron, he didn't get that payday that he really wanted, and he didn't come out and show up. But let's go into that. Let's talk about, he signed with Denver. Let's talk about the contract.
Yeah, so he signed with the Broncos of all teams for a 2-year deal worth $16 million. That's 13.5 guaranteed. He's scheduled to make $7 million in 2020 and then $9 million in 2021. Like we said, he originally wanted in that $12 million a year category. I guess we've heard reports that the Chargers offered him $10 million like before the 2019 season started, and he obviously wanted more. And then now he says that other teams did offer him more money than what he signed for, but the thought of kind of staying in the division, getting revenge on his former team, that kind of swayed him to take a bit less money and stay in the AFC West and sign with the Broncos.
Now, here's the thing. I believe that teams could have offered him more money. I truly do. Because when we look at this, and I know a lot of people are saying that, well, then why didn't he sign for it? But a lot of people love to get revenge, and he feels wronged by the Chargers. He really does. And I think he's looking at this as an opportunity to go to a team that plays a similar-ish style, and we'll talk about that scheme fit and everything, but it's just more so about getting revenge. Now, the team that I think should have signed him over Denver, and I'm not going to go into this deep and everything, but the Houston Texans obviously could have signed him. I mean, they're paying David Johnson $13 million a year. I totally believe that they would have paid Melvin Gordon $10, $11 million a year had they not made that trade. So I do think that he had other offers out there, but I mean, getting revenge is going to be sweet for him if he can show up.
Yeah, I agree. If he can come in and prove to the Chargers that they made a mistake, and especially not even just playing against them, if he comes in and gets that 1,200, 1,500 yard season and kind of proves everyone wrong, then he'll just feel that much more vindicated.
Are you talking total yards, or you just mean rushing yards? Total yards, I'm assuming?
Well, yeah, 1,500 total yards.
I'm just making sure, because I mean that could have been pretty bold right there. That you would have been like,
no, I wasn't trying to predict anything. Don't get me wrong here. I was just saying if he does do that.
I'm just making sure somebody isn't going to catch you or anything, thinking that you're going to put him for the rushing title. And I think a lot of Philip Lindsay truthers out there wouldn't like that. But you know what? We're going to talk about Philip Lindsay and everything here. But let's move into this scheme. Let's move into how he fits into this team. Let's move into this offensive fit.
Yeah, so in San Diego and in LA, they tend to play a lot of outside zone, which includes also a lot of running out of the shotgun. And Melvin Gordon said himself that while this did make him a better all-around player, and he says it, and you can see it especially improved his ability to catch a ball out of the backfield and protect the passer on 3rd and long. He ultimately feels that the Broncos' inside zone scheme that they played and have played for a while now is a much better fit, and it's also kind of what he ran in Wisconsin. He is a more of a downhill north-south type runner. Likes to hit people. Likes to just hit the hole in the offensive line between the guard and the center, and just hit people as hard as he can.
I mean, if you go back and look at him in college, I mean, he kicked ass at Wisconsin.
He did.
And it was a lot of that power running game and everything. And it's like, you see a lot of these guys, like Le'Veon Bell is my favorite to talk about. I know a lot of people have like got this bad taste about Le'Veon because holdout and whatever, but he's the type of guy that will kind of wait patiently and find a hole and go. Melvin Gordon's one of those guys that he like sees a hole and he just takes it. He doesn't like wait for it to get a little bit bigger. He just like, he makes the hole sometimes himself. He follows his path. He's not one of those guys that's going to like jump cut outside and move up. If he can totally do that, but he's got enough power to see a small gap, break through, break those arm tackles, those like defensive tackles and defensive ends that are still getting blocked, and push through. And we've seen him in his best years.
You remember what Randy McKee told us in high school? He likes to penetrate and finish.
Oh man, I feel like he wasn't referencing any of our athletics there. That was just like something that we didn't need to know from his personal game. But anyways, let's move forward. Oh man, that's terrible. This whole segment right there. But that's true though. That's exactly what, Melvin Gordon does. Melvin Gordon penetrates. He just finds the hole, he pushes through, and he goes. And this is going to come into play a lot of times because when he does that, the fact that he can break tackles, he can break those arm tackles, he can fight against tackles and kind of fall forward, which is a very positive thing. He gains a lot of first downs. That's what people don't understand. Like, I totally get it. Like, we want the flash. We want guys that are going to go out there and they're going to get, 120 yards every game, and they're going to get 2 touchdowns and like 6 catches, and like the stats are awesome and everything. But what people are disregarding here is that the Denver Broncos, what do they have? Drew Lock. Okay? What does Drew Lock lack? Experience. Guys that lack experience can be timid, can make mistakes early, and because of those things, they don't have success. But you bring a guy like Melvin Gordon, who is more of an established pass blocker than Philip Lindsay or Royce Freeman, and it improves Drew Lock's ability to stay in the pocket. Switching up the run style, Melvin Gordon gets first downs. Philip Lindsay and Royce Freeman do not, comparatively. And that's, I think, the biggest key. Because if you're constantly putting Drew Lock in late, second and long, or you're putting him in third and short, I mean, that's not what we like. What do we like here on our program? We like second and short. That's the name of the show, and that's what you need. You want to get like 6-7 yards on your first play, then all you got to do is punch it through, and it's a first down, and it just makes Drew Lock's job easier, and that's what Gordon's here to do.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people are saying they should have paid Lindsay. In my opinion, I'm not trying to get down on Lindsay at all. I think he's a good runner, and I think he's proved himself in the league. But I just think Gordon is, like you said, much better all-around back. He's better in the pass game, better at catching the ball. He can provide that check-down option for Drew Lock if he needs. And he's a lot better at pass protection, like you said. He will be the starter because, I mean, they're not going to bring in this guy, pay him $8 million a year to come in and, like, play third downs. But he will share the carries with Lindsay. And I mean, everyone these days does running back by committee. There's no way around it. So that's what they're going to kind of do.
So when you say Melvin Gordon's going to be the starter, it makes sense because, like we said, he's getting it's pretty much $8 million a year. He's getting 7 and 9, but 13.5 is guaranteed. He's the 7th highest paid running back in the league. And because of that, you can't not give him touches. Now, Philip Lindsay fans out there, I hear you. I'm listening. I get it. I like Philip Lindsay. He's cheap running back on, an undrafted free agent on a nice contract. He's going to want money next year. However, let's break down some numbers for you, okay? Here's just what I want to break out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about Philip Lindsay and Royce Freeman's 2019. And then I'm going to talk about Melvin Gordon's 2018. Now I know. Well, Melvin Gordon didn't have a good 2019. No, I'm going to talk about the last time all these running backs had a full offseason, plus a full season, because that's what's important here to compare. Lindsey and Freeman last year had over 224 touches and 132 touches. Lindsey did break over 1,000 yards for 4.5 yards per rush, and Freeman had 496 yards for 3.8 a rush. Not good for Freeman there. Here's the number that I don't like. Lindsey only had 38 first downs on those 224 runs. Freeman only had 22 first downs on his 132. And when you look at their catches, Philip Lindsey had 35 catches, but he only averaged 5.6 yards a catch. That's not getting you a first down. That's not pushing the mold. And Royce Freeman, who's supposed to be their pass catching back, didn't do too much better. He only averaged 6 yards a catch. Now, here's where Melvin Gordon comes in, because you're not signing him based on last year missing a couple games. You're signing him on his last full season. On 175 attempts in 2018, he had almost 1,000 yards, 885, which is good for 5.1 yards an attempt. Five yards gets him about second and short, 5.1 yards. On top of that, he had 47 first downs, almost the same amount of first downs as these two guys with half the touches. And then he had almost 500 yards receiving, which is good for what? 9.8 yards an average, which is almost what? Almost a first down. That's what's important here. It's not that you need to score. The Denver Broncos are going to be electric this year. They've got great receiving options all over. They can go 4 deeper receiver, plus they got Font. Due to all this, last year, the Denver Broncos were 20th in the rushing yards per game. They were 28th in passing yards per game. These numbers have to improve. And Melvin Gordon is here to improve both those numbers, either by protecting Drew Lock or by catching and running the ball. Now, let's talk about the impact he is going to have. And I'm going to let you lead it off. Probably short term is the best thing because he signed a 2-year deal, but let's talk about Melvin Gordon's impact.
Yeah, I mean, with running backs, it's going to be hard to try and predict any long-term impact. Short-term, he's going to come in, like you said, he's going to take pressure off of Drew Lock, who's this developing quarterback in the second year, showed a lot of promise last year. I am of the opinion that Drew Lock showed the potential, showed the skills that you want to be a franchise quarterback. I'm not saying he's going to come in and be the next Dan Marino, but I think he has potential to be a top-end starting quarterback. And the team has showed that they're prioritizing building the offense around Lock. They gave him some good weapons. Sutton had a breakout year last year. They got Jerry Jeudy. They have Noah Fant is a decent receiving tight end. And then they also drafted like KJ Hamler, who's that explosive, speedy wide receiver who can take the top off the defense. They kind of are starting to improve the offensive line. They drafted Lloyd Cushenberry to shore up the interior line there. So this team shows that they want to build around Locke, and Gordon can come in and be kind of that safety valve for him. When none of his options are open, he has to check down, or when they have on 1st and 10 to get him like that start, get him those 4 or 5 yards to kind of make it easier on 2nd and 3rd down.
Well, what I'm going to say is, like, on top of that is that Denver now can use more pistol sets because they can be more effective with Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsey side by side of Drew Lock. You don't know if Lindsey's going to take it and hit the edge, or if Gordon's going to pound it up the middle, or if they're both going to break out. You just, like, it makes a more dynamic of an offense. And I've always said, if you've got a young quarterback, you need to give him one of two things. Preferably both, and I understand, like, if you have a dominant wide receiver, like, I love Cortland Sutton. I've been a big fan of him since SMU. I loved him coming out of the draft. I wanted him to go to Carolina. I support him. But as reliable as a receiver can be, those receivers need time to get downfield, and normally they have tougher matchups and everything, and tighter windows. The best thing for a young quarterback is either a great pass-catching tight end who is reliable within 10 yards, or a reliable pass-catching running back, who normally these guys, if they're agile enough and have sure hands, always have an advantage, in my opinion, based on those linebackers or safeties that are trying to cover them from 8-9 yards away, coming down into the box. And I think that's a part of the key there too. Now, we're not going to sit here and say Melvin Gordon's going to come in and get 200 touches. He might, but we're not going to say that's what he's going to get. I could easily see a solid 175 touches for him and Lindsey, and then just like another like 80 touches for Freeman. But this impact here long term is that if we can, I agree, it's hard to predict, but long term impact, Denver doesn't draft a quarterback or draft a running back next year. They will do one of two things. This contract will set the market for Philip Lindsay, where he'll sign for less because he can't get that, he can't prove it in his last year of his rookie deal, or they're going to ship out Freeman because Freeman is still got 2 years on his contract and really is the third back there. And if Melvin Gordon, who is going to be, once Melvin Gordon's contract ends, he will be turning 29 that offseason, and he potentially could sign for another year or two. I just don't see Freeman being in the long-term plans of this team, especially since Gordon can do everything that Freeman can do a little bit better.
I could definitely see the Broncos trading away Freeman for a late third or day 3 pick. Maybe during the season, there's a team whose starting running back gets hurt and they need some depth or something like that. Maybe they get him for like a 5th or 6th round pick. So that's kind of something I could see as well. I agree.
Yeah, and I mean, we could see that being like a in-season trade, especially with like how everything's starting slow due to, COVID-19 and everything. And somebody could have a running back go down early, and Freeman's going to be a get for them. All right, let's shift gears. Let's move into the final part of this, and let's talk about predictions. Now, we've already said he's going to be 29. He might sign for another contract. That's a thing there. Let's say this. He goes for about 750 in yards for 2 years straight. He gets about 40, 45 catches each year. And Denver's just is improving. Do you think they would bring him back based on those numbers I just gave you for another 2-year deal?
I think if he had those numbers and he was consistent and they didn't see like any sort of kind of decline in his play or in his health towards the end of that second year, I could see them giving him another 2-year deal. I don't think he's ever going to get as much as he wanted. He's definitely not going to get another like $8 million a year deal, but they could sign him, maybe let him test the waters and see if anyone is willing to pay that much. But I think they would have no problem paying him like maybe $5 or $6 million a year for another couple of years. And it depends on what their cap situation is like and how any remaining running backs are doing.
All right, so let's predict his 2020 season. Give me a stat line for him. I want to know attempts-ish. You can just say like, this plus or whatever. Give me like a yardage for rushing, total touchdowns, receiving yards, like average yard per rush. Like, give me everything. And off the top of your head, what do you got?
It's a tricky one. I think I could see. I don't think he'll get to 1,000 rushing yards, and that's not a knock on his ability. I think that's just a result of playing that running back by committee, sharing carries with Lindsey. I think he'll get around 200 total touches, maybe a bit less. Yeah, I could see him getting something like 600-700 yards rushing, another few hundred yards receiving, and for around a bit over 1,000 total yards. That's kind of how I see it. Maybe Lindsey comes and like gets another few hundred rushing yards, and they have a decent running game for Drew Lock there. That's kind of how I see it. What about you?
For me, I see 1,100 total yards. I see about 45 catches, and I kind of said this a little earlier, but I'm going to say that he gets about 700 yards rushing and about 400 yards receiving, somewhere in that soft spot, maybe 750 and 350, whatever. But I honestly think it's going to be around over 1,100. I think he's going to get 8+ total touchdowns, and I think that he is going to get 40+ first downs for this team as well. And his yards per carry are going to be over 4.5, which is what Lindsey had last year. And I understand he had a decline in play the year before. the Chargers' offensive line was not very strong. It is one of their weak points. They worked very hard at trying to improve it in the offseason for a reason. I just think that Melvin Gordon's going to come in and help this team. Their run offense is going to move into the top 16. And I think their pass offense, due to his pass blocking ability, is going to move into the top 25. Now, those aren't big moves, but that's just kind of what I see there.
Yeah, that's progress. I mean, that's all you can really ask for from a young quarterback, is just to improve every year.
Alrighty, well, that is going to do it here for us on Second and Short on our new edition breakdown of Melvin Gordon. If you guys like this episode and want to see more of our new edition content, click the icon in the top right-hand corner here. And if you like our content overall, click the subscribe button in the bottom right. It's free. It helps us out, helps you stay in, touch with what we're doing here, and you always get alerts from us. So hit it, punch it, smash it. Don't break your computer though.
Bop it.
And twist it, pull it. And if you like this episode, then give it a thumbs up. Giving a like takes 1 second, and it lets us know that what we're doing is positive for you guys, and then we should keep doing it. And if you dislike the video, comment below and tell us what you disliked about it so we can know. In the information down below, click the see more, and you can see our link to our Facebook page where we're always interacting with fans over there. We just hit 100 fans, so thank you guys very much for liking our page and interacting with us there. We're on Instagram, and we're making posts. Not we, sorry, Aaron. I'm not taking any credit for it. Aaron is the social media guru.
We're like married now. There's no you or me. There's only an us.
Well, then go over and check out our Instagram page where we got some great stuff going on. We're always interacting with you guys, and you kind of get a little hints and sneak peeks of what our next episode's going to be about. Alrighty, well, I am Tyler Lauder. He is Aaron Ben. This is Second and Short. You guys have a great night.